Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about the world of Scythe. So what do I mean by the world of Scythe? I am talking specifically about the fictional world behind Scythe, the board game. So Scythe, the board game, came out in 2016. It was successfully kickstarted, and it was created by two specific gentlemen. The first is Jamie Stegmaier, and he's the game designer. And so I think fundamentally he's a writer, and what he writes is rules, right? And then the other part, and this is critical, and this is really why we're talking today, is Jacob Rosowski. So Jacob Rosowski is a visual artist. He is works with paints and creates 2D pictures, okay, which are essentially paintings. And Jacob Rosowski created this incredible world with his art, which is alternate history, 1920s Russia and its surrounding territories, okay? And Jacob Rosowski's art is the world of Scythe, okay? And I've really dived into this world recently, and I read the entire rule book for Scythe, and I've really been digging into the objective cards and the encounter cards and all the components of the game Scythe, the board game, right? And so Scythe, the board game, what I'm about to say, these are just like objective facts. It was highly successful. So it was a successful Kickstarter, and it is a successful board game from the perspective of it sold lots of copies. The people who own those copies are very excited to have them. It is well reviewed. It is played. It has an active community. Like, all the things that game designers would want has been achieved with Scythe. Okay, and I was wondering, and I looked at it, and it's a gorgeous game. That's another thing, is the components of the game are stellar, right? Just really special and unique. And the game of Scythe is permeated with this very, very well executed, consistent art style, okay? And that art style are these haunting, and that is the best word for it, these haunting paintings of Jacob Rosowski, okay? And so what these paintings show is they show this 1920s alternate history Russia, right? And I was looking at it, and I was looking at how the Scythe world has been built, right? And it's beautiful and it's compelling. Like, it draws you in, right? Now, I think the thing that does that is when you look at the paintings, one, they all show a consistent world, okay? So what is the world? What is the Scythe world, right? So the Scythe world is Russia, okay, 1920, all right, done. And actually, that's recognizable in the drawing. That's there. Our version of 1920s Russia, right? The real version, right? But then overlayered on it is just three things, right? One are epic animals, okay? Epic animals that are connected, associated with independent characters. And the independent characters, what do I mean by an independent character? When I say an independent character, I mean an independent character from exactly the way an independent character exists within Warhammer 40K. So Warhammer 40K does a great job of having independent characters. So the independent characters within Warhammer 40K they're very powerful. They have armor and weapons and abilities and stories that regular grunts within that world don't have. And that's the same here in Scythe. Scythe has these independent characters, which are humans, all humans, and those independent characters each have an epic animal, right? So it might be an ox. So the ones that are in the game are a bear, an ox, a wolf, a hawk, and a bison, okay? And each one of those is connected to a character. So an example of this is Olga and Changa. So Olga and Changa, Olga is this striking Russian officer, and Changa is a tiger, right? And it's just, it's a really striking independent character. It's really neat, right? And it's just, and it's part of the game. What else is in the Scythe world? What else is in the Scythe world are mechs, okay? And there are these big, clunky, like early prototype mechs, right? Now there's lots of them. They're not at the prototype level, but they're not smooth and cool looking. They're like, it looks like if somebody took a Mack truck and turned it into a mech, and they're awesome. They're just really evocative and distinct. That's another thing. Everything in this world, everything in Scythe is really distinct. Nothing. I think one of the reasons why the world of Scythe is so compelling and so alluring is because it's so unique. There's just not a lot of worlds like it. And then the others are airships, okay? And airships are these huge, again, big, clunky, floating airships, right? That look like if you just made a semi fly, right? So they're clumsy, they're inelegant, right? But they're really distinct. And so Jacob Ruzalski is like independent characters with epic animals, mechs, airships. That's enough to make alternate history Russia 1920s awesome. And it does. It is just fantastic. Now, when I'm thinking about the world of Scythe, one of the things that's really interesting is I feel like Scythe is a mega example for game designers. So if you're a game designer and you design card games or board games or video games, you really have to look, any type of game, you really have to look at Scythe because it's a masterpiece, right? And, and one of the things that's great, especially about board games that I've recently realized, is almost all of their rule books are free. So you can just download them and see, and really get a great sense of the game before you buy, right? Now, one of the things that's really made that I think is truly interesting about Scythe is I actually don't think that Scythe has fully landed yet. And the reason why is the Scythe world is incredible. The Scythe board game is great for board gamers, but it's not a great home for the Scythe world. And the reason why is Scythe is a strategy game, and it's a big honking strategy game that takes 2 hours, all right? And that means it's going to have an incredibly limited population of people that are interested. And so one is, I love board games, but I have very little patience for any board game that goes into over 60 minutes. And actually, I would say really 45 minutes, right? And the reason why is I love them, but I've bought them before, and anything that goes over 45 minutes, I own it, I play it 3 times, and then I sell it 3 years later because I never play it, right? Like, when do you have 2 or 3 hour blocks of time? And that's a serious problem with Scythe, in my opinion, right? So, and a good example of this is last year I bought Tail Feathers. Beautiful game. Amazing pieces. Extremely well designed. An excellent marriage of fantastic game design and art. It takes too long to play, and I almost never play it, right? But, and so the thing I'm excited about with Scythe is I'm excited about boiled down 2-player games. I'm excited about Scythe comic books. I'm excited about a Scythe movie. I'm excited about Scythe novels. I'm excited about, Scythe video games. I really feel that the Scythe world is incredible. And actually, I'm very, very happy that Jamie Stegmaier has really achieved a great thing within the board game space. But I think that the world that he and Jacob Ruzalski have created is worthy of going beyond simply the Scythe board game. But if you're a game designer, right, or if you're telling if you interact with games in a specific way, you should really check this out. The first step is absolutely just download the rule book, read through the rule book, and then check out Jacob Ruzalski's art. And then also, if you are a strategy game player, I would highly recommend getting Scythe. Especially if you have the type of space in your life to play 2-3 hour games at a high frequency. Some people do. I'm just not personally blessed with that kind of freedom. But that's okay. I've made my choices, you know, and actually the things I spend all my time on, that, you know, those are prioritization choices. So, but it's really, Scythe is incredibly unique, and the Scythe world is really, really amazing accomplishment. And really, my hat is off to Jamie Stegmaier and Jacob Bruzowski. Scythe is a real masterpiece. Take care.